Hello, sports fans, and welcome to Scout Sports 101 NFL Draft Edition, Night 1, Round 1, and it's at Ford Field in Detroit. And I will be broadcasting all three of these days leading up to pick 257, Mystery Relevant. And right now, it's Night 1, and we're about an hour away from the draft opening up and getting underway and seeing who the picks 1 through 32 and we'll get to all that, and we'll do some previewing and who the Browns we think will take tomorrow night in round 2, and who other teams will take tonight in round 1. But first, here is today's Scott Sports 101 trivia question: Who was the latest drafted? Excuse me. Who was the latest quarterback drafted with the number 1 pick overall to start and win a Super Bowl? I will have the answer later in the podcast. Now, there has been no football since February, and the Browns have already made some surprising moves in free agency and at the NFL Combine. And the Browns have added some depth to their offensive line. It's even announced on Thursday of last week that they were signing that the club has signed, German Ifedi was 29, was a Seahawks first round pick in 2016. He has appeared in 102 games with 83 starts, playing at both guard and tackle. Ifedi spent last season with the Bills, mainly on the active roster, but also on the practice squad. He did not appear in a game. While he has played in all 17 games for the Falcons in 2022, he did not make a start and was on the field for just 8 offensive snaps. Executive Vice President of Football Operations and General Manager Andrew Berry and the Browns are gearing up to add young new talent to their roster as the 2024 NFL Draft quickly approaches, and we are now 57 minutes away from it, and the Browns have a total of 6 picks heading into the draft, with the first pick to come at number 54 in the second round on the second day of the draft tomorrow. They also have number 85 in the third round, number 56 from the Philadelphia through Arizona in the fifth round, number 206 from Baltimore in the sixth round, and number 227 and 243 in the seventh round. The Browns will not pick until tomorrow night, until pick number 254. We are just about 56 minutes away, and we're just about outside the draft, which is always exciting for the organization. We are now getting closer to it. We're going to be able to add to our team, Barry said on April 18th. It's been a great process working with the whole front office staff, our scouts who made incredible sacrifices throughout the fall, being away from their families, constantly on the road. Our coaching staff, who does a phenomenal job in the personnel process, and then research and strategy group, who does a great job of pulling together all of information as we ultimately build the board and look forward to making final decisions. Barry held a press conference to discuss the upcoming draft. So we're going to dive into the main takeaways from Barry and what he said. And we're now 54 minutes and 40 seconds from the start of the NFL draft. Now, first, we have the outlook on the second round pick for the Browns. The last 2 years, Barry has used the Browns' second round pick in deals to either move around in the draft or acquire a player in a trade. In 2022, when the Browns were on the clock for the 44th pick, they made a trade with the Texans to move back in the draft, and they ended up with picks 68 and 108 and 124, exchanged for 44. Then in 2023, they moved their 2023 second rounder exchanged for wide receiver Elijah Moore and a third round pick, number 74 overall, in a trade with the Jets on March 23rd. So, and that's what they've done from the previous years in the draft. And this is the last year of the Browns not having a pick in the first round. It's also the final year of Deshaun Watson's $230 million contract with the Browns. And and the Browns have another second round pick in the 2024 draft, as you know. And the main question circles around if Barry will use the pick to select a player or trade the pick. I will probably have a better feel once we get to 10 picks out, Barry said. It really depends on how the board falls, if I'm being truthful. So I'm not sure as we sit here today because we'll see if we can break the trend of making it 3 years in a row without a second round pick. And I'll continue this in just a moment. But right now, it's time to review the answer to today's Scout Sports 101 NFL Draft Trivia question. Who was the last quarterback drafted number 1 overall to start and win a Super Bowl? And if you said Eli Manning, you are correct. It was Eli Manning in Super Bowl 54. And I'll have another draft trivia question tomorrow for night 2, rounds 2 and 3. So stay tuned for that. Now, getting back to what I was talking about, the takeaways, getting back to that. With just 6 picks from the draft, 2 of which come in the top 150 picks, Barry said, there isn't as much flexibility to move across the board as other years when they have a full slate of picks. However, he believes they can manage to use their picks and resources in a creative manner, either increase the volume or increase the quality quality. There are outside factors that will determine the success of that creative approach in terms of what is available and which teams are in those conversations. So now here's acquiring another 7th round pick. The Browns made a trade on April 12th, a couple of weeks ago, with the Titans acquiring a 2024 7th round pick in exchange for tackle Leroy Watson IV. They now have 2 picks in the 7th round of this year's draft, number 227 and number 243, as I mentioned earlier. Barry said throughout the process behind the initial trade was that it brought in another pick that they could use as a resource. We'll see if we make 2 selections there. Barry said, how we deploy that resource remains to be seen. It could be we could select players with those two picks. It could be a part of a move up or it could be a part of a move down. It could be a trade for a veteran player. You just never know. So we'll be open and flexible in terms of how we use them. Now, here's some approach to the late round draft picks. The Browns have a draft board built, but there is still a need to be flexible at the first round as the first round plays out on Thursday, as well as the early picks on the second day in round two on Friday tomorrow, as they see who is still on the board. Barry said they get more of a narrow focus, just 10 picks ahead of their own. Now, if the players who could realistically be available at their selection, as they look at their late round picks, the Browns view the additions of young players as an opportunity for long term investment and roster development. Barry said the development of young players is an element that he enjoys seeing how a player comes and matures not only in their career but also as an adult. That's probably the most rewarding parts of this job for me, Barry said. And then probably the second part is when you've maybe identified a player that you think the industry at the industry at large will either undervaluable or view than who we do uh, or than we do organizationally because of their relative strengths and relative weaknesses, and then having the ability to acquire that player because you think that that individual's strengths align with something that you value offensively or defensively, where you can acquire out a role and play well. So that can really uh, now when it comes to the development of prospects. Barry said the timeline to gauge a young player in the NFL can depend on their individual history and position. Some positions like offensive or defensive line can take longer to develop. Others, like running back, is a position that can play more quickly in the league and have success. Yet there are other factors as well as specific to the individual player they have to consider. Uh, I think what I would say is pretty consistent that just like the transition from college to the NFL for rookies in general, regardless of where of where you're taking. It's hard, Barry said. It's a uh, very rare that a young player comes right out of the chute and produces like a starter, which is why we prefer to be in a roster state where if we can bring a young player aboard, they can develop into a role and then ultimately develop into a starter. as opposed to being pressed into that from day one. Right now, I'm going to be back with the state of the Browns roster. I'll have some of that, what Barry said. I'm going to take a break, upload this first segment, so stay with us. We got a lot more. We're just getting started. We'll be right back.